Once you have completed the unit planner and you've put all your brainstorms into the input and activities area, you are ready to move on to the making of a calendar. A calendar is what's going to happen when throughout this unit. Remember that a PBLI unit is generally between 2 weeks and 2 months long. It should not be 6 months long, should not be a school year long, it should not be 2 days long. So that information may cause you to go back and cut it in half or trim it down or simplify it in some way or scaffold it more. If necessary, do that process. Work your way from the top all the way down to the bottom. Make sure everything is aligned and harmonious throughout your unit plan. Once it's crystal clear with you what is and is not going to happen in this unit, you're going to decide in what order it's going to happen. And in order to do this, you're going to use some basic critical thinking skills that anybody has. This is pedagogy, but anybody can do it. So you are going to go to the calendar tab and you are going to make a calendar. Now, the schedule with which you meet with your learners varies. So just make it reflect your schedule. If you teach 5 days a week, have 5 columns across, have as many weeks as you're going to need. If you teach 3 days a week, maybe you want 3 columns across, whatever, just make a simple table that works for you. Once you have a table that works for you that reflects your teaching schedule, you're going to, in the spirit of reverse engineering, in the spirit of backwards planning, you're going to go to the very last square of your calendar. And in bold, you're going to type out or copy paste in the summative assessment that's going to happen, whatever that event is. That's the last thing that happens in the unit. So you already know where it goes. Once you have placed that there, you know what the second to last thing is. The reflection and improvement opportunity. It's either the day before or perhaps 2 days before. You put that onto the calendar. Those are fixed things. You know when they have to happen. They have to happen at the end. The next step is you look at the formative assessments, just the formative assessments right now. And you simply look at them and you choose which one is the most complex, which one is the most challenging, which one requires the most skills. And you put that somewhat before the reflection and improvement opportunity. You can decide whether it needs to be 1 day, 2 days, 3 days before, but a little bit before that is when your last formative assessment will happen. Then you go back to your list and you choose the next most complicated one. So do your own process on this, but basically you want the very most complex and challenging formative assessment to come last, and the least complex, the easiest, to come first on the calendar. Give them some reasonable space between them, 2, 3, 4 days in between them, and place each of your formative assessments onto the calendar so that the first one listed is the simplest and the last one listed is the most complicated. And they grow in complexity and they grow in challenge as one moves through the calendar. Once you have all your formative assessments are in place, I would suggest that everything that's currently on the calendar be put into bold or perhaps a very striking color so that you know that everything that is on the calendar right now are assessments. Because after this, everything that goes onto the calendar are just activities, just lessons. And so then you're going to go into your brainstorm and you are going to copy paste those brainstorm ideas, those lesson ideas onto the calendar in reverse order from the formative that they build up to. Meaning, if one of your formative assessments is that students will adjust a garment they have designed to be another size, make a copy of it that is a bigger size or a smaller size so that they learn how to size their garments in their fashion line. In order to do that formative assessment, they have to have already had formative assessments about even designing something, making something to one size, cutting fabric, etc. And then the lessons that are right before, the activities that happen right before this formative assessment of showing that they can adjust the size, need to have to do with practicing adjusting the size of a garment, knowing the percentage difference, knowing how to scale a garment to another size. That is what is practiced in the days building up to that formative. And then something just slightly less complicated was being practiced the days before and the days before that, etc. So the entire calendar moves from least complex to most complex. And each lesson, each activity is sitting right in front of where its formative assessment is, so that students are practicing, being assessed. Practicing, being assessed. Practicing, being assessed. And that is building itself up to the final assessment. This is how you do your lesson plan calendar. So you have a schedule for your unit, which is going to allow you to go in and prepare each day's lesson in a aligned, sensical way. But you will always know that every activity you're doing every day is directly aligned to the outcome that you want, meaning as you move through that calendar with the students from beginning to end, you know, and they know, as they get used to this process, that every activity you're doing is preparing them for their final product, to create what they need to create and to get a good grade on their assessment. It is all practice. It is all boot camp. It is all training until the actual day comes. And that way you have successfully reverse engineered a transformative learning experience.